G'day viewers, it's Michael here again and welcome back to Single Racer. And now I'm partially excited to say that the 2002 classic BMW has finally dropped for Automobilista 2, but only in the beta version, so they're still clearly testing it. And I'm really excited because I drove it and it's a great little car to drive. Very excited to see it drop in the full update, hopefully in a week or so or whenever it's ready. And so what I thought I'd do in the meantime is compare my favourite track of Assetto Corsa, which happens to be the Monza Classic Track, or known in Assetto Corsa as MONZA 66 Road Course. Now they have it in Automobilista 2, but it's known in Automobilista as the 1971 version, but it's clearly the same track. And then I thought, well, let's not just compare the tracks, but compare a particular car, or my favourite car of all time in Assetto Corsa, this car here, and this is the Lotus Type 49. And what I want to do is find out how close the times are in the two cars representing the Lotus 49. Now in Automobilista 2 it's known as the Formula Vintage Gen 1, but they are essentially the same car. And what I want to do is run them as default, so no changes to either car in either sim, but also do 10 laps in each sim, so a straight out capped 10 laps, and see what is the best time I can do with each car on each version of the track, and how close they'll actually be, or how far apart they might be. It'll be interesting to test this out. And so I'll do it in my usual single racer style, where I do external replays for both versions, where I'll talk about specifically the track itself, and then I'll do a cockpit view, but not in VR, just a normal cockpit view, and talk over how I did my fastest lap and a little bit about each cars. So I guess there's nothing more to do than to go hot lapping. So this is Michael signing out for Single Racer. I'll catch you next time. See you later. And let's go hot lapping. Okay folks, so as we get ready for this flying hot lap, on lap 5 of 10 I did my best time, so let's get ready and head off. And I have to say at this point that I'm keeping in mind that this is a 2014 game, literally brought back to life thanks to Ilya, who does the custom shaders patch, Peter Bowes, who does Soul, and the content manager. And I've got to say, what a great effort they've done to bring it into the modern world. But the thing that I noticed when comparing it to the Automobilista version is it still looks like a classic track, it still looks historic, but I was surprised how much cleaner it is to the Automobilista 2 version. If you look at the edging on the side of the road, there's a very clear groove. You know, again, this is probably a sign of the times of when this sim actually came out, that they couldn't do that much as far as maybe potholes and things like that. But it's interesting to look at it now with the modern update of Automobilista 2 and see how clean the track is. And I have to say, as the lap, this external lap comes to an end, a big thank you to ATR Atrupelador again for doing this Camtool 2 preset that you're seeing here. So as we get ready to cross the line, I'll next take the cockpit view and talk about how I achieved the hot lap. So as we cross the line here, we do a time of 1:29.4. So that's the best lap I could do in the 10 laps. So now let's check out the cockpit view. Okay folks, so as we get ready to do the fastest flying hot lap, lap 5 of 10 in Assetto Corsa. I just want to talk about this car, and I was talking recently to two of my favourite sim racing channels about my technique, about my slowing fast out, and given that I had a setup that let me get a 127 on this track, I was curious to see how having no setup would affect the time. And so I talk about my technique as being slow and fast out, and I think this track is a great example. So here I'll come into the corner. If you look at my accelerator, I'll ease off slowly, change down to fourth, and now power on early, and I feed the throttle. You know, I have the joke about squeezing the toothpaste, but that's how I approach it. And so here again is where I brake very early, get the car to settle down to second gear, come in shallow because I know the car's going to slide. See, I can feel the car sliding, and it gives me room not to hit the fence. Same thing here, ease off and now gently power out, but it means I can come out of the corners really, really quickly and keep a lot of the speed up, even though I might brake earlier than some. Now, if you've got the guts, you can take this almost flat. There's the car sliding again, and I'm allowing for it. So I drive similar to, we have a V8 supercar here, legendary driver Craig Lowndes, who drives very shallow, and I like to do that too because it gives me room here. See, again shallow, I accelerate and I know the car, there it goes, the car's going to slide, and I counter steer into the slide, but it lets me be very, very quick out of the corners and keep the speed up to get a reasonable lap. And that reasonable lap there again is a 129.4. So now let's go over to Automobilista 2 and see the differences in the both track and the car. Okay folks, so as we wait for the car to come flying around the corner, I want to talk about the differences of each track in the different versions, but I was absolutely thrilled, given that I didn't change any settings at all, that both sims have the ability to track what weather is current now. So I was thrilled to see that both tracks were in the middle of autumn. So you have, if you notice, both versions are in autumn with the trees and the colours of the trees. It looks absolutely incredible. But now let's talk a bit about the differences. And I've got to keep in mind, of course, this is a modern version with the Unreal Engine, so it's naturally able to do a lot more features. But I love the effect where this really feels like an historic track, even though this is supposed to be a 71 version compared to Assetto Corsa's MONZA 66 version. But look at that fencing, just the fencing, all the details, the what looks like potholes that have been fixed up. And I talked about specifically about the edging, and this is where a modern game engine can really enhance the feeling. Is if you have a look at the edging, you can see that the bitumen looks broken or worn in, like it's a historic track. This really feels its age, and I'm going by the fact that this to me looks like a 70s Bathurst. See there where both sides of the track look broken just like it did in the 1970s Bathurst era when I used to watch it on TV. So absolutely fantastic version, but you know, I keep in mind that the Unreal Engine is doing a lot of the work for the sim, and that's why it looks so good. So as we come around the corner now, I deliberately kept the replay menu off, which gives you the time to have a cleaner look. So I'll tell you the time when I go into cockpit view. So as we cross the line now, let's head over to the cockpit view and let's talk about the car itself. Okay folks, so as we approach lap 8 of 10, which is my best time, let's talk a little bit about this car and have a look at this. The first thing I noticed was this car feels quite plodding, like much harder to drive, which I think it should be, but you really kind of feel the weight, or probably not the weight, but more the lack of grip through the front tyres. I had a tough time, so I even had to ease off, and look, there you can see the age of the track just looks tremendous. But here, where I eased off and now fed the throttle on, I really had to do it gently, because this car feels like it can spin so much quicker, or the torque build up much quicker, and it was much harder to drive. Here I almost plow into the corner. There you can see it. And when I change down to fourth, the gearing feels all wrong here, like I'm waiting. It feels like it really needs the setup to get a faster time. So I was really curious to see how this was going to compare next to the AC version of the Lotus 49. And there, where I kind of had to always make minute throttle inputs, where the aliens tell you not to do it. You should really only have one input. But not being an alien, here, like where I had to plow, it sort of felt like it was ploughing or understeering into the corner, and I had to constantly make fine adjustments on the throttle there, because it wanted to spin on me, ease off and cross the line. And now let's cross the line and see how it compares to the actual time that I set in Assetto Corsa. Okay folks, so given that I normally only race in VR, have a look at the bottom left there. You can see it's lap 8 of 10, a 1:29.6 compared to Assetto Corsa's 1:29.4. I mean, you can't get much closer than that. It's a big stamp of approval for both sims. Fantastic. Okay folks, so as we come flying down the back straight, let me sum up using this alternate replay by using an analogy of a coin flipped onto the floor, landing on heads and tails. And if it lands on heads, I would argue that Assetto Corsa to me is still the king of all sims. To me, it's got the best handling coupled with the best enjoyment. With all the modding and everything that goes with it, to me it's still the king of the sims. But if we flip the coin over now to take a tails point of view, I would argue that in Assetto Corsa, at least with the Lotus 49, it shouldn't be that easy to drive. To me, the argument on the tail side of things is that the representative of Lotus 49 in Automobilista 2 is arguably more realistic, in the sense that, see here, I'm struggling to get around the corners in this powerful car. And so to me, as a non-alien, I don't think any person should be able to get in a car like this and drive it at its limit. We are not race drivers, so without being insulting to anyone, I think this is probably more a representation of how difficult it is to drive this particular car in this sim. So both from the track point of view and the car point of view, I could argue that it's more realistic, even if you would say that the tyre model still kind of maybe needs work, a few of the cars still need work, and you know, the Automobilista sim as a whole isn't quite up to the standard of Assetto Corsa just yet, but to me they both are the leaders as far as sim goes in this modern time. So I hope you enjoyed this comparison. So this is Michael signing out for Single Racer. I'll catch you next time. See you later.